Oh, great. Great. Okay. Audio's up. This is a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information. And it's a Tuesday, which means there's technical difficulties, but that's all right. That's all part of the show, my friends. This is the pre-party. My name is Jay Cal. If this is the first time you've tuned into the show, thank you for checking us out. And if you're a regular, well, welcome back. Every Tuesday at this time, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific, we're here to talk NWA POWERRR. There's a lot of news this week, guys. So much is happening with the NWA. Now is the time to be a fan, I'll tell you that much. Welcome, guys. I see that Bobby's in the house, William's in the house, Willie, not William, and Heebs is in the house. Thank you guys for checking it out. Hopefully more of you are here checking us out. If you'd like to join the conversation, if you say something, we're going to put it on the screen just like that when Heebs told me that I was muted. So if you want to join the conversation, please make sure you leave your comments. But again, what a big week. The return of the 10 pounds of gold. And from what I've understood, that was produced by my pals over at This Is the NWA podcast. And I'm so proud of those guys. So I tip my hat to you, to Will Martin, to Doc Stinson, and to, of course, Gary Horn, who I'd be remiss if I forgot his name because I almost did. Such a great job on the podcast, not podcast, but on the 10 pounds of gold. It had that old school feel. It had that old school vibe. And I'm really digging it. So if that was you guys, if you produced it, awesome. If you just had a hand in producing it, you guys did a great job. And did anyone else get the vibe that maybe the next world heavyweight title match might just be in Poland? If you haven't checked it out, as soon as this week's episode of Power is off the air, go to YouTube, check out the 10 pounds of gold. A lot of fun, very much worth the 15-minute watch. Can't say enough good things about it. Now, with that being said, there was a lot of news that was broken in that episode of the 10 pounds of gold. And furthermore, news was announced after that actually was released today, some late breaking news. We'll get to all of that just momentarily. But the first thing that I don't see under a lot of NWA press is a tag team title match is set for WrestleMania weekend. What? Not with the NWA, though. If you look here, looky at the AAA Invades WrestleCon, you see all these great matches: Psycho Clown versus Black Taurus, Laredo Kid and Bandito versus Flamita for the Cruiserweight title. Jack Cartwheel, SoCal Kid, Jack Cartwheel back in AAA. Sam Adonis, you know him as El Rudo in the NWA. But look at there. An NWA World Tag Team title match with Mecha Wolf and Bestia 666 La Rebellion defending against Aerostar and Drago. Whoa! That's big. We've been waiting for Mecha Wolf and Bestia to defend those titles in AAA or Crash or anywhere else their adventures take them. But this is the first time that they will defend the titles in AAA, a part of WrestleMania weekend down in Texas. And Drago and Aerostar are going to be their opponents. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. I think that's very huge. It's good for the NWA. If they were efforting to have this co-promotion, this partnership with AAA, this is the best way to do it. Very excited to see what is going to happen from this. I'm kind of curious what you guys think about that matchup. Again, not in an NWA ring, but really doesn't look like the NWA will be down in Texas during the WrestleMania weekend. I mean, obviously their big show is coming up on March 20th. And of course, that's the Crockett Cup. And a lot of matches have started to trickle out. Now we know that at Crockett Cup, we know that we're going to have the conclusion of the junior heavyweight tournament that will be concluded, oddly enough, in a four-way dance with Austin Aries, Colby Corino, Darius Lockhart, and Homicide. That match will take place on Sunday, March 20th, as well as recently announced matches with Camille defending her title against Kylie Rae and Chelsea Green. Now, this was just announced a few minutes ago through the NWA's YouTube channel. Again, on Sunday, night 2 of the pay-per-view, we're going to have Camille defending the Burke against the highly decorated Kylie Rae and Chelsea Green. Both of these women are very capable. We've seen Chelsea Green challenge Camille in the past at the NWA 73rd anniversary. And of course, Kylie Rae has yet to get a one-on-one match with Camille, but I mean, this looks great on paper. This is a great matchup. You've got skill versus power versus speed, and really a combination of all three for all three ladies. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. The other big matchup announced, of course, with a special guest referee in Jeff Jarrett, Matt Cardona taking on Nick Aldis. Now, what we should be looking out for in this match is how corrupt has Jeff Jarrett become since joining that Game Changer Wrestling roster, and will his fellow roster mate Matt Cardona benefit from Jarrett being involved in this title match? Gimmicks be damned. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I think we're seeing a lot of with Cardona being there. Cardona is a draw in and of itself. Putting Jeff Jarrett in this match opens up a lot for some chicanery to happen. And when you add that to Nick Aldis having that history with the 10 pounds of gold, I mean, I'm kind of pumped up for this. And I'm not going to say I'm any more excited than I was before the match announcement, but so much could go awry with using Jeff Jarrett as your special referee. I don't know what's going to happen. And that's the best thing about being a fan of the wrestling, of being a fan of the NWA, is not knowing what's going to happen next. Many people did not think that Trevor Murdoch would lose the title to Matt Cardona at Power Trip, but he did. And a lot of people didn't think that Trevor Murdoch was going to take the title off of Aldis back at the 73rd, but he did. So congratulations to the NWA for breaking up the monotony and giving us something different. And we'll see what happens on March 20th at the Crockett Cup finals. And speaking of Crockett Cup, the other breaking news is we've got the brackets are set, man. We've got a lot of interesting things have happened in the last 48 hours. First of all, we've got Harry Smith joining the British Invasion. Now, this is all kinds of clever. The star power of the tournament has been enhanced. Seeing that we've got Mr. Harry Smith joining this the tag team tournament. Again, the star power has risen. Plus, I mean, we all know that Harry Smith is not from England, but of course his family legacy is definitely from the UK. I mean, I remember the infamous match between Shawn Michaels and Davey Boy Smith Jr. Davey Boy Smith at SummerSlam, or just the British Bulldogs in general. But this is a big get for the NWA. The last time that we saw Doug Williams outside of a WWE ring was part of the Primetime Live show, where he actually had competed on those Primetime Live cards. And, personally, I hope to see Harry Smith stick around with the NWA and more than just this tournament. But I think it's a pretty good deal. Doty agrees with me. He says that Harry Smith is a good addition to the NWA. And I honestly couldn't agree more. This was a smart move for the NWA. And I really feel like that's going to help them not only generate interest, but again, the star power. Harry Smith is a known commodity. And like the advertisement said on the NWA YouTube channel, you can check that out too. But wait till after this, obviously, to watch it. He's a former IWGP Tag Team Champion, WWE Tag Team Champion, GHC, which is Pro Wrestling Noah's Global Honored Crown Champion. Most of those titles he won with Lance Archer, the IWGP, the NWA, and the GHC titles. Of course, WWE, I think he won those titles with Teddy Hart. No, not Teddy Hart. Excuse me. That's not right at all. Oh, gosh, now I can't remember the guy's name. You guys are going to get me on this one. We'll get back to it. DKM says he'd pay to see Harry Smith versus Cardona. Tyson Kidd, thank you, Wrestling with MMA. Tyson Kidd, that was the name who had previously teamed with Davey Boy in the WWE. Doty agrees he wants to see Harry Smith confirmed, or Harry Smith after this, the pay-per-view, to be a part of the show. Heeb says that Harry was confirmed. Nice. Yeah, this just happened within the last hour. So Wrestling with MMA says Harry Smith as Williams' partner is a huge get, and I hope he stays. Chris Drummond says, I doubt it, Doty. He'll get offers from Japan promotions, but might make appearances. Well, that's the thing. So if we talk about that for a minute, right? That's one of the beauties of the NWA, because you only have to really be around for about 4 days to be on programming for like 4 months. It's such an easy trade-off, and I wish more NWA talents would do that. I wish more New Japan talents could do that with the NWA. Somebody like Chase Owens, who is a former NWA junior heavyweight champion and had a lot of significance for the NWA just a few years ago. I mean, he could really show up for 4 days of TV, go to Japan, do what he has to do, and the whole time he would be having matches on Power or NWA USA. So I think that would be something that would be cool. Heeb says, dang, Harry, Masters, Aldis, Williams are all guys that I'd like to work random international dates. Yeah, we just saw, and this is kind of an aside, but WSW in Australia, the World Series of Wrestling, their first wrestler announced for their next tour is going to be Matt Cardona. So if he's still NWA World Champion after the Crockett Cup, we could potentially see him take the title to Australia. I don't know if he'll be defending it if he's there. He might be defending the Impact Digital Media Championship or any one of the number 6 titles he has now. But no, I think this will be this is all good. And the international dates, I think, are as the world is kind of getting over COVID, there's a lot of things still going on in this world that might prevent more international dates. But I really feel like we're starting to see the churn, and we're starting to see some wrestlers get to go international. So we'll see how that all comes out. Doty asks, Jay, are you going to be at the Power and USA tapings? No, Doty, I'm not. Unfortunately, I could only get out there for the weekend. I'll be out there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so I will not get to see any of the NWA USA or Power tapings. However, I will be back in Irvine to watch the United Wrestling Network have their first taping of 2022, which I believe we're going to get Chris Dickinson against, I don't think it's been announced yet, and this is just a guess, but I think he's going to wrestle Shane Haste. So I'm very excited about that. I'll be very happy to be at that show. That hasn't been confirmed to me by anything. That's just my speculation. Either that or Cesaro. That's another topic altogether. If you guys were here on Thursday night, it got real tense when we were talking about Cesaro. DKM and Big Kev had a fun conversation with that. If you missed it, you could go check it out on the YouTube channel. We have the Cesaro debate or Claudio debate. I'm not sure what it's called, but check it out. It was fun. So, all right. So more news, more information. Of course, as I'm looking, okay, so we got the Harry Smith. Of course, the tag team that has been entered into the Crockett Cup in that to be determined position is the Now. The Here and the Now. I have no idea who these guys are, guys. I'm not trying to be glib. I have no idea who they are. I'm not trying to be a dick about it. I don't know who they are. You can't even Google search the Now. You type in the Now and type wrestling, and you get like a soundtrack for kids singing wrestling music or something. I don't know. They don't come up. This is kind of, I feel like, might be a misstep for the NWA because they took so long to announce a team in that position, and that's what they came up with. It's a little disappointing. I feel like this would have been better suited for a team like the Heatseekers, who have that NWA history, or a team who's more well known that previously wasn't announced for the tournament. I feel like this one was misfire, because again, and I'm not trying to disparage that tag team. I'm sure they're great. I don't know anything about them. And even the video announcing them, I didn't see a whole lot to it. So, hey, Fiona, what's up? Fiona's in the house. Michael Manning is here. Michael, welcome back, my friend. Chris Drummond says the Now, aka the Squash. Wrestling with MMA, he says, interesting. I wonder if they put they are a put together team. I think they're around. I just don't know who they are. Chris brings up Dickinson and Cardona getting into it recently. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind, because Matt Cardona doesn't just represent the NWA. He's got championship titles in like 4 different companies. He's the Impact Digital Media Champion. He's the NWA World Champion, of course, but he's also like the AIW Champion and the New York City Wrestling Connection Champion. The dude's got many titles, and well, he's also competing regularly for Game Changer Wrestling. In fact, just this weekend, he and Brian Myers teamed up against Sean Waltman and Joey Janela. And though, of course, the title wasn't on the line, but the title was there at Game Changer Wrestling here in Los Angeles. And, you know, after that match, there became a war of words on Twitter between Chris Dickinson, your United Wrestling Network World Champion, and Matt Cardona, the NWA World Champion. Now, I don't think we're ever going to see a title versus title match. And I doubt you'll see Cardona challenging for the United Wrestling Network title, or Dickinson challenging for the NWA World title. But a matchup between these two could happen in many places. Game Changer Wrestling specifically, as both of them have allegiances to Game Changer. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if that ever amounts to anything. But again, I think Cardona is he's so good at social media. He's so good at ruffling feathers. He's so good at getting under people's skin that there's going to be a lot more people calling him out for a match. I mean, even Matt Hardy recently said that he was going to wrestle him for the world title and take it away from him. I mean, that all remains to be seen, but anybody can come out there and challenge. We need to get matches together, and I would love to see Cardona have a lot more higher profile matches in and out of the NWA. So next up, now we have the 4 teams that were announced for the play-in match. Now, this was pretty interesting because some of these teams are more well known than others. We get first up, Violence is Forever, and Violence is Forever is a team that was I think they were more well known in MLW, and I know they've been tag teaming since 2018. They Dominic Guarini and Kevin Koo. They've been teaming since 2018. They wrestle in Black Label Pro Wrestling, Sup Wrestling, Action Wrestling. In fact, they currently are the tag champions for each one of those promotions. The Action Tag Team Champions, the SUP Tag Team Champions, and the BLP Tag Team Champions. And, you know, they've been very active. They've had appearances in AEW, MLW Fusion, Warrior Wrestling out in Illinois, Beyond Uncharted Territory. So they wrestled in a lot of different places. They even were in Germany as part of the WXW World Tag Team Festival in 2019. And they've appeared for Game Changer Wrestling. So they are not unknown. They are actually pretty well known. If you don't know who they are yet, you'll get a good taste of that on Saturday night, March 19th. The next play-in tag team that was announced was the Rip City Shooters. Now, again, I don't know a whole lot about the Rip City Shooters. They are the what is that? I can't even read what that says on the graphic. But again, they're a tag team I'm not super familiar with. And, again, not everyone is going to be a superstar in this tournament. But the Rip City Shooters have been teaming since 2019. They are currently the AIW Tag Team Champions. Formerly AIW Tag Team Champions. Held those belts for about a month in AIW. But they've been teaming again since 2019. They're wrestling at AIW. They wrestle at Black Label Pro. They've had a few matches in those general areas in the Midwest. So, again, not overly familiar with them, not overly hyped up to see them, but again, they're part of the tournament. The next team that was announced was the Tate twins, or the Bad News Boys, or whatever you want to call them. They were also called the Boys when they were at the Crockett Cup in 2019 as part of Dalton Castle's boys. They actually were part of that wild card battle royal, the same battle royal that saw Royce Isaacs and Tom Latimer win and get all the way to the finals. The other teams that were in there were like Jay Bradley and Josephus were in that tournament as well, or that battle royal as well. There's a couple other teams, but specifically the Tate twins were a part of that. I would love to see these guys get some play in the NWA. They've wrestled all over the place: Ohio Valley, Ring of Honor, United Wrestling Network, both in Memphis and in Atlanta. A great tag team. Would love to see more of them for sure. Now, let me get to some of your comments before I get to the Heatseekers. So I want to check out what you guys are saying. Willie Bowen says Matt Cardona is the king of the indies, and it's hard to complain. It's hard to argue that right now. He is. Somebody said that he is doing what Cody did when Cody left the WWE, only he's doing it in his way and better. And there's something to that for sure. DKM says, I know they will lose to the Briscoes. I mean, I don't see the Briscoes taking an L here throughout the entire tournament. That's just my opinion. Wrestling with MMA says, give me Dickinson versus Cardona any day of the week. I agree, man. I mean, that match would be very intense. And you guys, if you watch United Wrestling Network, if you've seen Game Changer Wrestling, if you've watched Chris Dickinson in New Japan Strong or Bloodsport, the guy is a champ. He's a fighter, and he is he's very intense. So seeing him against Matt Cardona would be a very styles clash, very different style of wrestling, but I think it'd still be a lot of fun. So we'll see how that works out. Dave Scooby says, so how would Cardona do if he was in Bloodsport? I don't know what kind of background Cardona has in the amateur style of wrestling, the collegiate style of wrestling, high school wrestling. You know, someone like Josh Barnett, it is his blood sport. And like the wrestling there isn't traditional wrestling where it's in a ring. It's more on a mat. Or I mean, I guess it's still in a ring, but they don't have like turnbuckles or ropes or any of that. It's basically just an open mat. And there's a lot more grappling involved, a lot more jiu-jitsu involved. Could Cardona do well there? I mean, again, I don't know what his background is, but I don't think that's the place where he would excel. As far as I can see. Bobby Petito says he'd like to see Matt Cardona versus Papo Esco. I mean, I know Papo Esco would love it. Papo Esco, another guy that doesn't take any mess, a very intense individual. He's currently United Wrestling Network TV champion. He defends against Zicky Dice on, I believe it's March 21st. Wrestling with the MMA says the VBD were a formidable team paired with Tom Lawler and MLW. Excited to see them in the NWA. Again, I don't know a whole lot about them, so I'm waiting to be educated for sure. Sean Vega says AEW is one of the top indies. Sean, I totally buy that. I'll give that to you. I'm not familiar with them, and I know like, hey Jay, what's up? But I don't know everybody. You know, I concentrate here in the NWA, the United Wrestling Network, and the greater SoCal wrestling scene. So I'm not super familiar with promotions that are in the Midwest or on the East Coast. You know, I'm a longtime fan of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators out of New Jersey. I'm really excited for what the iconic Heroes of Wrestling Excellence brings WrestleMania weekend. And, you know, Mission Pro is a group that I will always support. Brian Cervantes and Thunder Rosa. Wow, I forgot her name. I'll be excited to see that too. Willie Bowen wants to see a matchup with Charlie Haas and Matt Cardona. I mean, that would be a lot of fun. I think that would work really well. Then the next piece of news is the Heatseekers are going to be involved in the tournament, and I think this certainly is a throwback to a lot of NWA Wrestling Fans from the last 10 years. The Heatseekers were a team based out of the former NWA Smoky Mountain. I believe now it's Innovative Pro Wrestling. The same place that produced Chase Owens and Jason Kincaid. Also gave us the Heatseekers. The Heatseekers, for those of you guys who don't know, are former NWA Tag Team Champions. In fact, they're multi-time champions. And I know for a fact that they've defended the titles in a lot of different places. Oh, that's funny. They don't even list them on the. That's funny that they don't list them on Cage Match as a tag team champions, but I can, in fact, tell you for sure that they are. Sigmund is a very accomplished wrestler. Matt Sigmund has wrestled all over the world, matches in China with the NWA back in the day. Yeah, they're 4-time NWA Tag Team Champions with Elliott Russell, and in their last run as champions, they don't even list their title reigns, so I should have prepared a little bit better. But let me see here. Forgiveness, please. So yeah, the Heatseekers were the last tag team champions prior to the NWA vacating the titles when Billy Corgan purchased the NWA. But the Heatseekers, again, 4 times champions. So they first won the titles from the Killer Elite Squad, which is Davey Boy Smith Jr. and Lance Archer. And then again, they lost the titles to the Iron Empire, which was Matt Riviere, Rob Conway, regained the titles, and then lost them again back to the Iron Empire, only to win them again, and then to lose them again to the Iron Empire, and then eventually winning the titles from Rob Terry and Kazushi Miyamoto. So, yeah, a pretty good tag team for this tournament. I kind of wish they were in a better position and not the play-in, because I'd rather see these guys in the tournament than like the Ill-Begotten or even Marche Rocket and Jordan Clearwater, but we'll see how it goes. And so, I mean, that's the tag team tournament. So the Crockett Cup shaped up. Who do you have winning the whole thing? Personally, my opinion and only my opinion, I think the Heatseekers are going to win the 4-man play-in, or 4-team play-in to face La Rebellion, but I don't think they're going to get past La Rebellion. I think your finals are going to be basically, I'm out of breath. I think, this just handed to me. Thanks to Chris Drummond, officially signed for April 1st, Matt Cardona versus Chris Dickinson for Game Changer Wrestling. You heard it here first, unless you're following them on social media, and that literally just that just broke like 30 minutes ago as part of the collective at WrestleMania weekend. Joey Janela's Spring Break number 6, entitled The Greatest Clusterfuck Part 2, Chris Dickinson versus Matt Cardona. Now, obviously, that probably won't be a title match, but if it is, ooh. And then more late-breaking news. Bobby Batito let me know that Women Behaving Badly, the EVE event, will be happening in London. It'll be title versus title, the Uprising versus the Hex, the women NWA Women's Tag Team Champions. So a lot of crazy stuff happening. If I could get that on the screen, I'd get it for you, but I can't. So 2 more late-breaking news. So if Cardona leaves Crockett Cup as champion, I mean, he maybe could defend in Game Changer Wrestling. Cardona has been on record saying that he would love to defend the title everywhere. If you watch the 10 Pounds of Gold, he says it pretty explicitly that he would love to defend that title anywhere. So maybe we might get a Chris Dickinson versus Matt Cardona NWA World Title match. I wouldn't hate that. I wouldn't be against that. Let's get to more of your comments because I can't talk forever. Bobby Batito says, who is wrestling against the Hex, Allison K, Marty Belt, Crockett Cup. No official announcement yet. I'm sure we will see one, but nothing's been announced yet. The matches we have so far for Crockett Cup are, again, the World Junior Heavyweight title will be determined on night 2. Of course, the finals of Crockett Cup on night 2. The world title match between Cardona and Nick Aldis, and of course the women's championship match. All those matches will happen on Sunday, March 20th. So the 19th is still mostly, I think, is going to be the tag team tournament, and then maybe we'll get a few thrown in matches too, but nothing's been confirmed yet. Willie Bowen says, will Lantoy ever return to the NWA? I mean, as long as Tony Khan is paying him to be a part of AEW, I don't see why he would go to the NWA. If he ever became a free agent, I'm certain he would have at least some interest in checking out the NWA again. But, he is also getting older. I don't know how much longer he would choose to wrestle. I'm not calling him an old man by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't know how long he's going to be contracted to AEW or how long an option the NWA would be for him. I think he would fit right in terms of size and gimmick and his ability to cut promos. Everybody dies, yada, yada, yada. Next NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. I mean, all that stuff could still be applicable in 4 or 5 years, but I just don't know when he's done out of AEW. Doty says, with the Heatseekers in, there's a chance for Barrett Brown to return. Just a matter of time. Doty, I mean, to your mouth, to Billy Corgan's ears, right? I definitely feel like Barrett Brown got the short end of the stick, did everything right, put his nose to the ground, kept working, not only improved in the ring, but improved his physical appearance, has gained a following on social media, including TikTok. Barrett Brown is very underrated, still working for New Japan Strong. And I think the NWA really missed the ball by not even inviting him to be a part of this tournament. I hope at some point he gets a shot at that title, but in all likelihood, I don't know. I don't think he will be back. Bobby Batito says he would like to see more of Rhett Titus in the NWA. Bobby, I'm right there with you, man. I think he's great. I think he's a lot of fun in the ring, and he's really impressed me in his last 2 showings, first against Aries and second against Carino. I'd love to see Rhett Titus in the NWA more. Heaves is a huge Fixers fan, and I don't blame him. Wrecking Ball Legursky is a national treasure, pardon the term. He's an absolute joy to watch. He makes me laugh. Not only that, but he's a big guy that can move around the ring. And most guys his size can't do what he does. So it's fun to see guys like him bounce around. And, of course, Jay Bradley. I've known Jay Bradley since 2003. I was there when he debuted at Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. He was part of Dave Marquez's New Japan United States, or I guess at the time it was called New Japan USA, which was, again, back in 2003. And they filmed in Santa Monica at a dojo where they took top talents like Bryan Danielson, who then was the American Dragon, Christopher Daniels, who wrestled as Curryman, Rocky Romero, Ricky Reyes, Samoa Joe, who was defending the Ring of Honor World Champion, Togi Makabe, Adam Pearce, Joey Ryan, yeah, I know, TJ Perkins, on and on and on. And they did this, they did these shows. Minoru Tanaka was a name that I just remembered. I have actually, oddly enough, I have this flyer from one of their first shows in 2004 at the Hollywood Athletic Club. And it was Bryan Danielson challenging against Minoru Tanaka, who under the mask wrestled as Heat. And Heat was the IWGP champion, junior heavyweight champion, the first time that title had been defended on American soil. So I don't know how I got from there to there, but anyways, Jody says, so glad at least we have Harry Smith to accompany Doug instead of Rob Terry. I mean, I would have been mad if it was Rob Terry, because I think that would be cool that it was at least the original British Invasion. But I'm not going to be mad at seeing Harry Smith there, too. I think Harry Smith is a superstar. I think he's never gotten the right opportunity. Another guy that I wish was a part of the NWA on the regular to see him to challenge for that 10 pounds of gold And that's the thing. As this roster continues to grow, I know that there's animosity in the locker room because he's not their guy. He being Matt Cardona, he didn't put in the work. But you got to remember, man, and it's very opportune to hear Nick Aldis say these things like, "Hey, he didn't put in the work. He was just brought in and given that title shot." Before Nick Aldis became world's heavyweight champion, there was Tim Storm who was putting in the work. And Tim Storm was wrestling in Japan in the lesser-known wrestling promotions. And Tim Storm was wrestling in the Southwest, keeping the legacy of the 10 pounds of gold alive. And, before there was Tim Storm, there was Jack Stane. And before there was Jack Stane, there was Hiroshi Tenzan. And before there was Tenzan, there was Rob Conway. Before Conway, there's Satoshi Kojima. And before Kojima, there was Conway. And then before Conway was Tokyo Monster Kahagas. And then before Kahagas was Adam Pearce. And before Pearce was Colt Cabana. And then Pearce, and then Blue Demon Jr., and then Pearce, and then Brett Albright, then Pearce, and then Christian Cage. And what I'm trying to get at is, yes, Nick Aldis is right. Like, Cardona just came in and was put in the spotlight, but that's exactly what happened when Aldis came to the NWA. He was put in that spotlight. Who did he beat to get a title shot? Nobody. He came in, he looked at the camera in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and said, "Tim Storm, I want to challenge you for that 10 pounds of gold." They did one match in Hollywood. They did one match in CZW, and then he was champion. And the whole show became about Nick Aldis. And even though Tim Storm had a huge following based on the 10 pounds of gold, like, the focus shifted from Storm to Aldis, and it never looked back. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, because of course Aldis did bring many, many eyeballs to the NWA and helped grow the brand. But I mean, hey, Kettle, you're calling the pot black here. If Cardona is doing exactly what you did in 2017, what's the prob, Bob? There's my rant. Somebody clip that, because that's a great rant. If I can brag on myself. Let's see more comments. Bobby Batista says he'd like to see more of Maddie Renikowski. I agree. I think Maddie was excellent in her matches in the NWA this season. I would like to see more. Dodie says, I'd rather see Kylie Ray and Tootie Lynn challenging the Hex for the tag titles than doing a triple threat. I mean, that's a money point right there. I agree with you. I think I would rather see that as well. DKM points out that Hoyt is 45. And again, nothing wrong. 45 isn't that old. There's a lot of guys still wrestling at 45. Hell, Diamond Dallas Page didn't become world champion until he was like 45. But how long does he want to continue to wrestle is the question. There are some people who don't want to wrestle into their 50s. There's some people who want to walk away before they're forced out. I'm not trying to make a judgment call on Mr. Lance Archer, Lance Hoyt, but it is what it is. Crockett Cup, the Cardonas will be world champion and Burke champ. Chris Drummond is advocating right now that his man, the savior of the NWA, will have his beautiful bride become the next women's world champion. I mean, that is a tall feat, because let's not forget, Camille has been dominant as champion, like absolutely dominant. I don't know that there's anyone that can really compare to her in the NWA currently. Sean Mega says, I would like to see more long-term cohesive storylines. Sean, agreed 100%. There's so much inconsistency and so much fluidity from one taping to the next. Remember when Paro and Jax Dane and Odinson were going to form this team, and then a couple weeks later, Rodney Mack replaced Jax Dane? It was just bizarre. It didn't make any sense, and there was no explanation. Just boom, here it is. Doesn't make sense. Chris Drummond says Lance Archer can moonlight in the NWA once a taping. I don't know if his contract allows for that. I mean, because if that's the case, why couldn't the FTR come and be part of the Crockett Cup? Why couldn't Brian Cage come in and challenge for the 10 pounds of gold? I think there's some indies that they can work, but I don't think they can work necessarily with the NWA whenever they want to. Otherwise, I mean, why not have Cody have come in and challenge for the 10 pounds of gold, or Dustin, or really like any kind of cross relationship? Have Scorpio Sky come in and wrestle for the junior heavyweight title? All these things would be fun, but I don't think that's that language is written up in their contracts, and I think that's why Thunder Rosa going to AEW the way that she did. I mean, it was very uh, by the book, and I don't think you're going to see a lot of mixing unless it's for everyone's benefit. Doty wants the Fixers to win the cup and shock the world. I mean, right now, I think the team that's going to win it is your Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. But I mean, if the Fixers go over, that'd be kind of cool too, just because of their fun. Uh, but I mean, this tournament is supposed to have some weight to it, and I'm not saying that the Fixers don't deserve it. I'm just saying there's a lot of good teams in here that might deserve it more. I mean, I don't think the Heatseekers are going to come in and win this whole thing, but imagine if they did, right? That would gain them instant credibility to become challengers to Lana Rebellion, especially because they would beat them in the second round or first round of the Crockett Cup. But it also give them a lot of credibility to just be a part of the NWA. And if you didn't know who they were before, you hear that they're 4-time champions in the past. They win the Crockett Cup, and now all of a sudden they're a big deal in the NWA. I think that's what this tournament's going to do. Whoever walks away from this tournament is either going to benefit from the rub, or the tournament will benefit from them winning. If it's the Briscoes, I don't think the Briscoes are going to be a better tag team because they win the Crockett Cup, but I think the Crockett Cup's a better tournament with their name as being former champions of the tournament. Willie Bowen says he'd love to see wrestlers from All Japan Pro Wrestling come to Power and USA and challenge Cardona or whoever's the world's heavyweight champion. And then Chris answers that All Japan has to form a working agreement with the NWA. They currently have one with MLW. Heeb says Stu Hart was an NWA World Champion, right? I don't believe Stu ever held, at least not the 10 pounds of gold. He might have held a Canadian heavyweight championship that was affiliated with the NWA, but he never was NWA World's heavyweight champion. Sorry, out of breath. Doty says, yes, Willie, yes, NWA and All Japan do want. And I don't hate that relationship either. And I think that would be mutually beneficial. Once the borders are open, I really feel like the NWA needs a little something more. And I don't want to see them working necessarily with AEW or Impact. I think they would benefit more from an international partnership with maybe All Japan or Pro Wrestling Noah or AAA or CMLL. But a really genuine relationship, not where they just occasionally send one wrestler here, one wrestler there. Let's really put this into overdrive, and whoever the world's heavyweight champion is, show up in Japan or show up in Mexico with the 10 pounds of gold and really get that rub for the NWA and bring some star power to a promotion that might need it. Doty says the Saito brothers are an excursion and seems they work everywhere, not locked to MLW. NWA missed the boat by not bringing them to the Cup. Agreed, Doty. And it's just a shame that, again, I think they had in mind who was going to be a part of this tournament long before the names were announced. And I know that there are people filing in for those 4 spots. Again, the Saito brothers could have easily been there just as well as the Heatseekers. That's NWA management. Chris says the NWA is like the only promotion without working agreements. I mean, what's WWE's working agreement situation like? Who are they working with? I don't think that's necessarily true. He even says that Chelsea Green could be Camille's Cody. I'm not sure what you're trying to say there, Heebs. Chris says maybe it's time to forge working agreements. Again, I think maybe you're reading my mind because that's just what I was talking about. Bobby says he's looking forward to watching Adonis wrestle tonight on Power. Bobby also says he'd like to see VSK have a match for the junior heavyweight title. Willie says the NWA and Impact Wrestling have an agreement. Matt Cardona wrestles there, and Mickey James too. I think the agreement with Impact and the NWA is more that the talent is just free to wrestle in other places. I don't think there's a forged agreement between Impact and the NWA. I mean, Kiera Hogan is technically an AEW talent, but I think she's free to work with the NWA. I think Mickey James is free to work anywhere she wants. That's why she was at the Royal Rumble, and that's why she was a part of the NWA for the 73rd and a few matches that she had on Power. I don't think that Impact controls the those bookings, and I don't think it's any kind of working agreement between the two. I think that the tensions that were previously there are gone, but I don't think that they're on any kind of same page. Working agreement, excuse me. Willie says Jordan Cruz should have the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship. I mean, he can't have all the titles. He's currently your United Wrestling Network Heritage Champion. He should be defending that title on March, I think it's 21st in Irvine. Bobby wants to see Cardona defend the title again in New Japan. And I mean, I don't know that relationship exists. You know, the NWA worked very hard to have a deal in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. The NWA was effort team to work with New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's why you had Rob Conway going to Japan. That's why they were able to send Big Daddy Yum Yum and Michael Tarver and Wes Briscoe and, of course, Jack Stane back and forth to Japan, Chase Owens and Steve Anthony. It's because of the relationship they had. Right now, I don't believe there's any kind of relationship between the NWA and New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I don't think that that's something that's going to happen anytime soon. Dodie wants to know what happens if Law Rebellion gets to the final and they lose. Do they lose their titles to the winner of the cup? I don't think it's not once have I read where their titles are on the line. So I don't think that's something we have to be concerned about. I think this is just a tournament. It would be interesting, though, if they did. I mean, anything that breaks up monotony, anything that surprises me or shocks me or changes the narrative of what's happening is always a plus for me because it gives me something that's unpredictable and makes it more exciting to be a fan. Willie says the winning tag team of the Crockett Cup should be the number one contenders for the tag team titles. Absolutely agree, Willie. Absolutely agree. And Chris says Bobby, New Japan recognizes AEW and Impact right now. Cardona doesn't even work for New Japan. You know, and look, Rob Conway didn't work for New Japan prior to their relationship with the NWA, so anything could really happen. But like I said, it's a very exciting time to be alive. It's an exciting time to be a fan of the NWA. We have the World Tag Team Champions defending at a show in Texas as part of the WrestleMania weekend basically for AAA. They're defending the tag titles. You've got Camille, who's been defending that Women's World Championship all over the country. She's going to be defending the title against two people, Chelsea Green and when are we going to start calling her Chelsea Cardona? It's time to start calling her Chelsea Cardona. She's married to the man. And Kylie Ray. You know, it's just a lot of great stuff is happening. Now's the time to be a fan of the NWA. And if you haven't subscribed to Power, you probably should, especially if you want to watch these pay-per-views. You can order both nights of the Crockett Cup, and it's going to cost you, if you order them individually, $24.99 per pay-per-view. Or you get them together for $44.99, which is about the same price as if you signed up for the All Access, the NWA All Access plan on Fight, and all the pay-per-views are included. So if you hadn't signed up, but you're really excited to see the Crockett Cup, you might as well sign up because you're going to get the Crockett Cup and everything else the NWA does for the same price. It just makes more sense that way. If you're enjoying this podcast, please, like Mr. Dave Scooby says, like and share. And I'll even challenge you, if you really like this podcast, comment below in the comment section, not in the chat, but in the comment section, and tell me what you like about this show or what you don't like. He says, all this equals Camille, Green equals Cody. Chelsea Green potentially could do what Cody did for the NWA. That's very fair. I think Chelsea Green is a great talent. I think she could potentially be the Women's World Champion. I wouldn't have a problem with that either. And I don't think it's going to happen, but you know. And then Chris is right here saying it too. Jay, when the Cardonas win both titles, they will most likely defend their titles at WrestleCon. you can't turn your nose up at the exposure that Matt Cardona is bringing for the NWA. And that's one of the best things that Cody did for the NWA was bring exposure, bring eyeballs to the product. Now, when Cardona leaves, will those eyeballs stay? That remains to be seen, right? I mean, anything could happen. But if Cardona does his job in making the NWA viable, making it again, putting more eyeballs on the product, then it's Billy's job and the rest of the NWA's job to pick it up and run with it, run with that opportunity. That's what they did with Cody. When Cody won the title at All In, people were watching the 10 pounds of gold specials. They were watching what Nick Aldis was doing. And when it came back to the 70th anniversary show in Nashville, Tennessee, everybody was watching because they wanted to see what was next for Cody. Now, a lot of those eyeballs stayed, which was great, but a lot of them didn't. What Cardona is doing right now is bringing exposure to the NWA. And it's silly to me to say that, but, you know, the NWA has been around since 1948, and we're talking about exposure. But it's not what it once was. It's fallen many, many of times. And although it's never stopped being a promotion that recognized the World's Heavyweight Championship, it has seen better days. Hell, even the global pandemic slowed down a lot of the forward momentum. And even putting the title on Trevor Murdoch did very little to get people to pay attention to what the NWA is doing and what they are continuing to do. So you can't be mad at what Cardona has been able to bring to the NWA. You just can't. If you don't like Cardona, that's fine. But you can't take for granted what he's helping to bring to the NWA. Of course, him being in the main event for a Power Trip, I'm not saying he's solely responsible, but the tickets weren't sold out prior to his name being attached to the event. And as soon as it was, tickets sold out. So with that being said, let's all just ride this wild ride as far as it takes us. We are at 880 subscribers here on this YouTube channel, and I do appreciate each and every one of you. But when we hit 1,000, somebody's going to win this. Somebody's going to win a replica of the Crown Championship, the belt that was held by Dory Funk Jr., Gene Kaninsky, Harley Race. I mean, this title has some significance. And you could have it. You could have this replica. We just need to get to 1,000 subscribers. So again, if you like, comment, and share, you're going to help this channel grow. And once we hit that 1,000, we're only 120 away. Somebody's going to win that. And I hope that you're all excited about that. So Crockett Cup is starting to come along. We know what the matches are that have been announced. Of course, tonight's episode of Power, I mean, you guys read the spoilers, you know what's going to happen, but we have, man, we didn't even talk about Power. We have, of course, a tag team match. Now, some people have said that this is the first match of the Crockett Cup. I have not seen that, but the OGK versus the Fixers, no DQ, falls count anywhere. It's a Kentucky Sweethearts brawl. I have no idea what that means. But, you know, if you've seen the results, you know the results. The other match that they have also is going to be the Pope versus Mike Knox. Again, the last time these two... Oh, you know what? Let's get back to Fixers and OGK real quick. You know, because this is one of the better feuds that the NWA has been growing. It's consistent in the storytelling. The first time that this tag team faced off was at By Any Means Necessary, which was Oak Grove, Kentucky. And, the original Kingdom defeated the Fixers after the Fixers defeated the Ill Begotten. But they got that big victory. That was the first victory that the original Kingdom Taven and Bennett got. And then the second time they faced off was as a part of that team war. Now, they didn't really face off as a team because the team war stipulations, but they were in the ring with each other. Of course, Strictly Business won that matchup. The other two teams were eliminated. And then the final time that these teams faced off before tonight was at episode 49 of Power, when the Fixers with Colby Corino took on the original Kingdom with Victor Benjamin. So this storyline has been continuing. I really like the way the NWA has built this up. And again, if this is for the Crockett Cup spot, so be it. I don't like that, but it is what it is. And if it's not, even better, we get to see it one more time at the Crockett Cup. Next up, we get the Pope versus Mike Knox. Now, this match is significant because this will be the Pope's return to the ring for the first time in the NWA since receiving those concussion, the injury at the hands of Cardona and Knox. So there's a bit of revenge on the mind for the Pope. The last time that these two shared a ring together, Knox and Elijah Burke, you have to go all the way back to Cinco de Mayo 2008, May 5th on Raw, where they were a part of a 14-man team that took on Mr. Kennedy and Triple H. Of those 14 competitors, you had Bam Neely, Chavo Guerrero, CM Punk, John Morrison, Kane, Kofi Kingston, Matt Striker, Nunzio, Shelton Benjamin, Stevie Richards, The Miz, and Tommy Dreamer. How's that for a blast from the past? So, again, this is kind of a big deal. And when I say kind of, I mean it really is a big deal because of, again, the significance that these two have had in terms of storyline, storytelling. This is going to be another good one. And the other match, I'm trying to pull up the graphic. I don't know if it's going to let me. The final match of the night, the main event, will be Chris Adonis versus Anthony Mayweather. Now, most of y'all already know the results. Most of you already know who's going to win this, but it should be fun to see that match. Now, this is Adonis's only 5th match. His only 5th title defense as national champion. Now, remember, he won the title from Trevor Murdoch originally, then lost it when he forfeited the title to be a part of the Battle Royal to help determine the number one contender for the 10 pounds of gold at the 73rd anniversary show. Obviously, Adonis's plan backfired, but he was able to regain the title in a modified tournament where he regained the belt. Again, the belt he never lost, he never defended. And then after a couple of matches, 2 within the NWA, 2 outside the NWA, this will be his 5th match. And we'll see how that all plays out tonight. Of course, we'll be talking about that on Thursday. You can join us Thursday, 8 p.m., as we will talk about this episode of Power. And, of course, we'll be talking about the bracketology of the Crockett Cup, some of the matches that have already been announced, and more. Make sure you join us Thursday at 8 p.m., 5 Pacific, to talk NWA. And then we'll get to a few more of your comments, and then we'll get out of here. Chris Drummond says the OGK about to get screwed. I mean, shit happens. The Fixers will shock the world. That'd be interesting. And then Dave Scooby reminds us that the OGK have Impact taping the same weekend as Crockett Cup, so they likely won't be there. And that's probably why they did the match the way they did. Guys, it's always fun spending this time with you on Tuesdays from locally for me from 2 to 3. I do appreciate you guys being here every week. We'll be back this Thursday, so join us. Until then, we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for checking out the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. You should hit that subscribe button and join our community. I also want to remind you that we recap NWA POWERRR every Thursday at 8 p.m. in the live stream. We try to stay social, so find us at the Alliance blog. And until next time, meet